Alright guys, welcome back to Homegrown Living, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make raised garden beds for free using pallets. So my plan is to make 3 different raised garden beds for this garden that we just extended, and the first step is for us to go and take some measurements. All right, so my lovely fiance wants me to build them out to about this post here, but she wants some room to be able to walk on the edges. So we're gonna measure it out and we're gonna come up with a number that makes sense for the size of pallets that we're using. I'll explain more of that in a second. All right, so looking at this here, I could do either 4 feet wide or 5 feet wide, but pallets usually come in either 3 feet or 4 foot lengths or anywhere in between. So to make it easier for me, you, and everybody else, we're just gonna choose 4 feet, which is still plenty of room. It gives us enough room to walk on the sides over here, and it goes far enough out so my fiance is happy. To see how long we want each one to be, because that's width, I'm going to measure the entire length of this. We're at about 23 feet. So let's say 22 because we want at least a foot on that end. So 22 feet. Then we want a foot on this end, so we want 21 feet. And then we want 1 foot in between each one. So we're going to talk about around 18 feet. Dividing that by 3, we have 6 feet, which is perfect because each pallet is at least 3 feet wide or long, and we can stack them. So 3 feet plus 3 feet is 6 feet. So we're going to do 4 feet wide and 6 feet long, and we're going to do 3 of those. So for your garden, my suggestion is to have at least a foot. I'll show you what that looks like. At least a foot. I mean, ideally you want 2 feet. So measure how long your garden is, how wide you want it to be, and then subtract about 2 feet from the sides, and then take your number and subtract 2 feet from each end. So the edges, and then in between each one. Now for height. For height, usually you do about a foot to a foot and a half. For us, we're going to do a foot and a half, which is 18 inches. All right, let's get to building. Now, for selecting the pallets, we want at least 3 pallets that are a minimum of 4 feet in either direction, width or height, and we want at least 6 pallets that are a minimum of 3 feet in one direction, width or height. Lucky for me, that is what I have right here. So these are my 4-footers, and these are my 3-footers. Now, to get pallets or prime raw building material like these, Facebook Marketplace is fantastic. People are getting rid of them all the time for $0 plus tax. So go ahead and just look up Facebook Marketplace pallets and go grab at least 6 of them, 3 feet in width, and then 3 of them that are 4 feet in width. And if they're not exactly that, that's just for me because of my measurements, which is 4 by 6 feet. Yours might be smaller, so you might be able to get away with smaller pallets. Obviously, that just depends on your specific measurements. Or you'll need even more if you're doing way bigger ones and you're making mine look pathetic. So this is 48 inches or 4 feet long. And you can tell which direction is long because of which way the studs on the inside, the structural braces, are facing. And then for width, they are 40 inches. So that's perfect for me. And reason being is because I want it to be at least 18 inches tall, and this is more than 36 inches tall, which means that I can just cut this in half and cut off a little bit extra, and I'll have both my front and my rear walls to the raised garden beds. This is going to be the front and the back, and then right below you are going to be the sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 18 inches from the edge here, and I'm going to mark all the way down this piece, and then I'm going to cut all the way down, and I'm going to do the same thing over on this side, and then I'm going to take another piece of stud wooding and I'm going to put it right in between so that way it's braced up. So measuring from the stud over here, or the edge, we're going to go to 18 inches. If you have a speed square, it makes it a whole lot easier. All you got to do is make one little mark, and then you take the flat ribbed edge here, you put it on the side, and then you strike a line down. And there you go, 18 inches. Now what I'm gonna do is cut this with a circular saw, and I'm gonna remove the back pieces down here by cutting across right here with a reciprocating saw to get rid of the nails. So that way this whole piece just comes right off. This is going to be the front and the back. So there's one. So we're just going to set this aside for now. Now, I've done this exact process of cutting off boards of wood from a pallet 100 different times to build that wood shed over there, which is built out of pallets, believe it or not. And with doing that, I learned myself a valuable lesson, which is to not use battery-powered tools when you're doing stuff like this, because they die a lot. And so what I did was I grabbed this along with that circular saw over there and a corded drill for 20 bucks on Facebook Marketplace. You might not be as lucky as I am, but if you can get your hands on some corded tools when you do jobs that require more than 4 cuts, it's worth it. All right, now we have the back. Now these boards right here are fine pieces of lumber that we are not just going to disregard. We're going to remove this from here, and these are going to be the pieces of wood that will fill in the gaps on there. So you see how there's a bunch of holes? We don't want all those holes. We want those to be filled in. That's what this is, filler. This piece right here is also a prime piece of real estate that we are not going to disregard, because this will be one of the studs that binds all of those together. Or you can just use, a 1x4 or something if we want this to be a little lighter, but whatever. You can use this. You don't got to throw it away. Ready? I don't even need a cut for that one. All right, so now once you cut all those pieces up, the next thing is to reinforce it. So a lot of your pieces may look like this, where there's one stud that goes across, and on the other side it's very flimsy, and we don't want that. What we do want is it to look something like this, where it has 2 studs. That way it's much more sturdy. And to achieve that, I basically took the studs that were in the middle, and I cut all the little pieces like this off of them, and I was left with this at the end of it. I was left with a blank stud. And so what I did with this is I placed it underneath, and I drilled in some holes into all of these pieces right here, and now I'm going to throw some screws in. And the reason why I drill holes first is because this is thinner pieces of wood that are very dry, and some of them are very old. And if you go to just drill in there without drilling a pilot hole, is what they're called, first, you could crack the wood when you send a screw through, and that's no fun. You don't want to deal with that. So, yeah, I'm doing that to all of them, so that way they're all reinforced. Now I'm gonna grab a set of the 3-foot walls that we have here to create the long 6-foot walls. And to do this, I cut about 2 feet out of extra studs that I had lying around. And I'm gonna place them on the 2 different studs from each of the walls as pretty much a brace to connect the 2. And for both the upper and the bottom of the studs, we're gonna place the brace on the inside, not the outside. And to do this, I'm gonna start with drilling 2 pilot holes on each of the sides. And the reason why we're drilling 2 pilot holes and sending in 2 different screws on each side is to prevent any racking. So the 2 screws on each side will make it very stiff. Then of course, use an impact gun and really send these screws home. And for the top brace, for the top studs, as you can see, I'm gonna place them on the inside, just like I did with the bottom. All right, guys, it's the next day. I did run out of sunlight, and we have completed the extensions of the wall. So we are now no longer containing just 3-foot pieces. We have wood welded those babies back together, and now we have 3 sets of 6-foot walls, and then 3 sets of 4-foot ends, or the other walls. All right, so the next step here is to fill in all these holes down here because we don't want a prison cell. We want ourselves a raised garden bed. And to do so, we gotta fill them in. So how do you fill them in? Well, what I do is I measure on this side and on this side the gaps here. So I'll measure right here, and right there we got ourselves 3 1/4. And on this side, we got ourselves a little bit more, so 3 3/8. So what I will do is I will choose the smaller measurement and I'll go with that one. So we're gonna go with 3 1/4. It makes it way easier to just put it in there. Err on the smaller side, or else you're gonna start cracking boards trying to hammer them in. Now, if we step over here, if you see down here, this is a table saw, and in the front, it has a ruler right here, measurement. And right here, 3 1/4 is right there. So we'll take the window on here with the little red line, and you can double check and make sure that that red line on your table saw is actually lined up, just using a tape measure and measuring from here to the right edge of the thick part of the blade there. That's how you would figure that out. So we're gonna go to 3 1/4. Tighten that down. And then you'll take a board, you'll turn it on, and you'll send it down through there. Now, what I do is I have a guide. Now, I just cut out a little notch out of a scrap piece of wood. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. The goal of it is so that your hands don't go past right here. Imagine there's a wall that's invisible, but it is impenetrable by human flesh. Meaning that you can't stick your hands, your feet, your face, anything past it, because boards can tug, they can get thrown, you could fall, you could slip, your hands could slip, whatever, and you do not want to be cut, right? So just make one of these, it takes 5 seconds. And so you'll turn it on and you'll send it through, just like this. You wait until the blade stops, and then you got yourself your piece. Let's go and see if it fits. There we go. And voila! You've now filled in a piece. And we are going to repeat that for every single one of these again and again and again until our brain is slightly numb. And then we will be done with this thing. And I just use some dinky drywall screws. They don't have to be fancy. And this is optional, but highly recommended to pre-drill the holes that you're going to be screwing into so the boards do not crack. And of course, naturally, just send in some screws with a screw gun. This is basically the exact same process that I mentioned earlier in the video about the pilot holes. All right, guys, so it's the next day and we have cut off all the angles to all these pieces. So each of these
have an end 45-degree angle cut, which means that they will nicely butt up against each other. I'm cutting little braces, 45-degree angles on each side, to go in the corner. I'll give you guys an example here. So for the corner in here, rather than just screwing together these pieces, which I think could be enough, I made these brackets that I'll put over it and screw down into there, and that'll help these pieces not be so, and my pieces are around 10 inches long. All right, so now that I'm done with all those cuts, we're gonna start here with 2 pieces. We're gonna turn these 2 pieces into 1 piece. And then we're gonna take 2 more pieces, and they'll all be 4 pieces as 1 piece. Basically, we're gonna turn them into boxes now. Is any of this perfect? Heavens no. But will it do the job? Yes. All right, so there's 3 possible options at this stage. So you could have some studs that are pretty lined up in terms of vertical height, and you're good. You just send a screw through diagonally, roughly at a 45-degree angle. It'll catch, it's fine. For this, now you're a little bit off center here. This one's a little taller than this one. And what I do is now you just angle the screw. So instead of also going at a 45-degree angle, you also want to angle it vertically. So it goes up into this piece right here. The third and least ideal outcome here is when they are just completely off. Now, I did make these, and I was planning on using them like this over the top of them. But for over here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go right in between them. And I'm gonna send screws up through here and down through there. To avoid this, just measure every single one of these studs that you put in yourself on these pallets. Make sure that they're all 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, whatever you choose, away from the edge. Right, now that we have it all together, and this is what it would look like if you didn't have any angle braces in it, besides the one that we needed, of course, for that one doozy. But besides that, you're still looking at a pretty solid 4 walls here that wouldn't fall apart unless you hit it with a sledgehammer. So you're good. I'm just putting these in because I'm extra and I like it to be overbuilt. It's all sturdy, it won't rack, everything is together, and all that's left is just do it 2 more times with those. But yeah, if you're only building one, then that's it, you're all done. All you gotta do is get some help to move it to wherever you're bringing it to, and then you can fill it up with dirt and then plants. All right guys, so we finished the rest of them. All 3 of them are built and they are put in the garden. I went and took this rake here and I raked it all out so it was a little bit more level before we placed them, and I am very happy with the way that they turned out. Are they perfect? Far from it. Far from it. But do they get the job done? Absolutely. I mean, these are huge. It's definitely more than enough for what we're doing right now. And yeah, I mean, the measurements, everything, it came out fantastic. Enough room here to walk through on all sides, the back, the front, in between, around. I can't complain. I'm very happy with how they came out. All right guys, and there you have it. That is how you build some homemade garden beds. And this is what they look like when they're filled with dirt and produce. Now I hope you guys found this video informative and a little bit entertaining. So if you did, hit the like and subscribe and check out our channel for some more videos. I can't wait to see you in another one. Bye.